So, Alice, have you ever tried pizza on Earth?
Pizza? Yes, I have. But I prefer the cuisine from the southern region of France, where I learned my English.
Ah, I see. I've been on Earth for 12 years now. And I still haven't tried all the foods they have to offer.
Attention crew, we are about to start recording. Quiet on set, please.
Good morning, viewers across the universe. Welcome to another episode of Earth, broadcasting from our spaceship in geostationary orbit around the planet. I'm your host, Charlie, and with me today are our esteemed panel members, Bob and Alice.
And we're live in 3, 2, 1.
And now for our headlines, stay tuned for the latest news from Earth and beyond. Good evening, viewers of the galaxy. We're your hosts for 24/7 Newsroom, the intergalactic news show that's out of this world. I'm Charlie, your libertarian host with a hopeful outlook on life.
And I am Bob, the conservative panel member who spent 12 years on Earth as an accountant.
And I'm Alice, the left-leaning panel member who considers humans an inferior species.
And we're coming to you live from our geostationary orbit around Earth.
Because why would you broadcast from a comfy planet when you can fall around it, risking your life?
Our first article tonight is from the country of Belize. Prime Minister John Briceño has expressed his support for Belize to become a republic and is calling for financial reparations for the impact of British colonialism on former colonies and the enslavement of their peoples.
Well, it's about time someone spoke up about the atrocities of colonialism.
Yeah, because the idea of reparations doesn't open up a whole can of worms.
But think about it, Bob. It's important to acknowledge the past and take steps towards making things right.
Yeah. Let's just forget about the fact that Belize is still a member of the Commonwealth and the UK is about to crown their new king.
Good old-fashioned trivia. Did you know that Belize is the only country in Central America where English is the official language?
Whoa, what a fun fact.
Well, I thought it was interesting.
Oh, guys, we have a problem.
What's going on, Debbie?
There's a catastrophic event that's threatening the station and our lives. We need to take immediate
What the
action.
hell is happening?
Is everyone okay?
I am definitely not okay.
Less okay than before?
No, about the same. Welcome back to 24/7 Newsroom. Our next article is about the recent appointment of Australia's new High Commissioner to Kiribati. What do you think about this, Bob?
Well, I think it's a good move. Australia and Kiribati have a strong partnership. And this appointment will only strengthen it. Plus, it's always good to have someone with experience in the Pacific fishery and maritime section.
I have to disagree, Bob. This appointment is just another example of Australia trying to exert its dominance over its smaller Pacific neighbors. It's not fair, and it's not right.
Actually, I think there's a solution that could work for both parties. If Australia were to provide more aid to Kiribati, it could help with their economic infrastructure and help address climate change. This would be a win-win situation for
I don't
both
think
countries.
that's necessary. Kiribati is perfectly capable of handling its own affairs.
Oh please, Bob. You just want to see some competition and conflict. It's in your capitalist blood.
That's not true. I just think that competition is a natural part of life.
Actually,
Sorry, Debbie, but we don't have time for your trivia right now.
Yeah, shut it, Debbie. Alright, let's move on to something a bit more light-hearted. Did you know that Kiribati is the only country in the world to fall within all four hemispheres? That's pretty cool, right?
Yeah. But I bet they still can't compete with the great wars of Idegenek.
Bob, not everything is about war and competition.
Welcome back, folks. Our next article takes us to the beautiful island of Dominica, where 3 cricket enthusiasts have been appointed to management positions in Windward Islands. Cricket.
I don't know about you guys, but I am not much of a cricket fan.
That's because you don't appreciate the finer things in life, Bob. Cricket is a gentleman's sport, requiring strategy and finesse.
I prefer sports with a little more action, like football or hockey.
Actually, cricket requires a lot of strategy and can be quite exciting.
How, you surprise me sometimes. But let's get back on topic. This is a big deal for Dominica, with Clement Marcelin being elected Vice President of Windward Cricket Inc. and appointed as the Director of Cricket West Indies at the Windward Island Cricket Board.
And let's not forget Liam Sebastian and Kimara Hurto, who will be managing the Windward Island Senior Men's Team and the Windward Island Under 19 Women's Squad, respectively.
It's great to see people from smaller countries getting recognized for their talent and hard work.
Oh Bob, I didn't know you cared.
I don't care. I just don't care about cricket.
Looks like Bob is more of a smaller sports kind of guy. Alright. Let's wrap this up with a little trivia. Did you know that Dominica is known as the natural isle of the Caribbean due to its lush green landscape?
Yeah, and did you know that they also have the highest ratio of goats to humans in the world?
I did not know that, Bob. But regardless, congratulations to Clément Marcelin, Liam Sébastien, and Kimara Hurto on their new position.
Agreed. And with that, we'll take a short break. See you soon, folks. Welcome back to 24/7 Newsroom, where we bring you the latest news from around the galaxy with a humorous twist up next. We have an article from Oman, where the dead get the ultimate recognition.
Did you know that Oman has a traditional dance form called Raza?
Thanks for that trivia, Debbie. Now, let's get back to the article.
So, UNESCO has recognized Oman's Bat, Al-Qum, and Al-Yn settlements as World Heritage Sites. They are known for their unique burial monuments and remain of settlements dating back to the 3rd millennium BC.
That's fascinating. It's good to see that our planet is preserving its history.
But let's not forget that it's just another place for tourists to flock to and destroy.
Oh, I don't think that's a very appropriate thing to say, Charlie.
Relax, Debbie. I'm just kidding. But in all seriousness, it's great to see Oman preserving their heritage for future generations.
Well, I am just glad they're not preserving it for the tourists to destroy. Yeah, and those beave tombs are something else. I mean, can you imagine being buried in a beave?
I don't think anyone would want to imagine that, Bob.
Speaking of beehives, have you guys ever tasted Omani honey?
I haven't, but I heard it's delicious.
It sure is, Debbie. And on that sweet note, let's move on to our next segment. Welcome back to Earth, where we bring you the latest news from all corners of the universe. And now, we're taking a trip to the land of reggae music and jerk chicken. That's right, folks, we're talking about Jamaica.
Jamaica. Yeah, Mac, yeah. Yes, Mon.
Ah, Jamaica. home of Bob Marley, Usain Bolt, and the world's fastest man.
And let's not forget their other famous export, the herb. I remember when I visited Jamaica and had a taste of the good stuff. It was like all my worry melted away, mon.
Bob, you do realize that's illegal, right?
Relax. Debbie. It was just a little vacation indulgence. No harm. No fool.
I guess you could say that Bob was a real Rastafarian on his trip to Jamaica.
Actually, Bob, the global ramifications of drug use in Jamaica are quite significant. It's tied to issues of poverty, crime, and economic instability.
That's right, Carl. And speaking of lesser-known trivia about Jamaica, did you know that Jamaica was the first country to have a female prime minister in the Caribbean?
And did you know that Jamaica has the largest butterfly in the Western Hemisphere? The Jamaican giant swallowtail?
And here's a punchline for you, mon. With all those giant butterflies, you think the air traffic control in Jamaica would be a mess?
Ha! Good one, Bob. But on a more serious note, Jamaica is also home to the Blue Mountains, which produce some of the world's best coffee.
And yet, Jamaica still struggles with poverty and income inequality. It just goes to show that even in a beautiful paradise, the realities of the world can't be ignored.
Indeed, Carl. So, the key takeaway from this article is that Jamaica is a country of contrasts. With rich cultural heritage, natural beauty, and economic challenges.
Yeah, mon. But it's still a place of good vibes and positive energy. Respect.
You know, I found that article on Jamaican dancehall music interesting. It's amazing how music can bring people together, even after a long-standing
Yes,
feud.
I agree. But it's not just music that has the power to unify people. There are many things that can bring people together, but unfortunately, there are also many things that can tear them apart.
Like what?
Culture, for example. Different cultures have different values, beliefs, and traditions, which can lead to misunderstandings and conflicts. It's a struggle for people to find common ground and respect each other's differences.
That's true. But don't you think that learning about different cultures and exposing ourselves to new ideas can also enrich our own lives?
Of course, I do. But it's important to acknowledge that not everyone has the same opportunities to do so. Some people are born into circumstances that limit their access to education, travel, and exposure to different cultures.
Yes, that's a struggle that many people face. But I believe that knowledge and awareness can help bridge those gaps. We can use our platform to educate and inform people about different cultures and perspectives.
Why not start by introducing me to your favorite cultural cuisine, Carl? I'm always up for expanding
That's
my
a noble
palate.
goal, Carl, but it's easier said than done. Changing people's attitudes and beliefs is a slow and difficult process. And it requires more than just information. It requires empathy, compassion, and a willingness to listen and understand.
Or force.
Yes, that also works.
Alright folks, let's get down to business. India has been facing some serious issues lately. Alice, can you tell us more about it?
Well, Charlie, it's quite complicated. The conflict between the majority community and tribal group have escalated, leading to displacement and loss of life.
It's yet another example of tribalism causing chaos.
Yes, and we cannot ignore the political corruption that has plagued the country for the past 50 years. It has undoubtedly contributed to this mess.
It's truly heartbreaking to witness such violence and displacement. Unfortunately, this is not an isolated incident. It's happening all around the world.
Let's make it happen.
Oh, don't worry. I'm sure nothing will go wrong. Famous last words, right?
Alright, let's wrap up this episode. What can we take away from today's discussion?
That the world is a complicated and messy place with no easy solutions.
But we must not give up hope. We need to keep striving for a better future.
Unless we accidentally unleash a giant robot monster and destroy everything, then we're probably screwed.
Great news, Car's plan worked.
Nicely done.
Oh, it was nothing. Just a little bit of telekinesis here and there. No biggie.
And with that, we've come to the end of another episode of Earth. Thanks for tuning in, and remember to stay curious. Alright, let's move on to our next topic. In today's news, Prime Minister John Grisino of Belize has expressed his support for Belize to become a republic and has called for financial reparations for the impact of British colonialism on former colonies and the enslavement of their peoples. The article comes from Belize, and it's a timely topic as the UK prepares to crown King Charles III. What do you all make of this?
It's about time someone spoke out about the lasting effect of colonialism. It's not just a matter of the past, it's still affecting us today. I think it's important that Belize takes this step towards becoming a republic and taking control of their own destiny.
I can understand why Belize would want to become a republic. But calling for financial reparations seems a bit extreme. The past is the past. And we can't change it. We should be focusing on moving forward and building a better future.
I see both sides of the argument, but I lean towards Alice's view. It's easy to say let's move on when you're not the one who has been oppressed for centuries. I think it's important for countries to acknowledge their past and make amends where possible.
I agree with Bob. It's not like the current monarch had anything to do with colonialism. It's unfair to hold them responsible for the actions of their ancestors.
I think it's important to acknowledge the harm that was done in the past. But we should also be careful not to get stuck in a victim mentality. The people of Belize are capable of building a prosperous future for themselves without relying
Interesting
on
perspective.
reparations.
But do you not think it is important to recognize the harm that was done and work to rectify it in some way?
Of course. But I think there are more productive ways to do that than simply demanding money from a foreign government.
Alright, we've covered a lot of ground today. It's been a pleasure discussing these topics with all of you. As always, stay curious and keep questioning the world around you. I just want to take a moment to reflect on what we've been through together. We've faced some tough challenges, but I think we've come out of it stronger as a team. And in light of recent events, I want to encourage all of us to be more open and honest with each other about who we are and where we come from.
I agree. I think we all have preconceived notions about each other based on our backgrounds. But we should try to see each other as individuals rather than stereotypes.
Easier said than done.
I think we should make an effort to learn more about each other's cultures and perspectives. It could be a good opportunity for personal
Personally,
growth.
I'm fine with remaining an enigma.
You know, I think you secretly enjoy all of this.
Don't tell anyone.
Well, we may not have all the answers, but I think we are on the right track. And now, let's get back to our regular programming. Stay tuned for next week's episode of Earth.
That was quite an episode today, wasn't
Yes,
it?
it was. The crew seemed to be really affected by the article. I wonder why.
It's not just the crew, Roger. This article brings up a lot of issues that are still relevant today. The effects of colonialism and the slave trade are still felt by many countries, including
But why
Belize.
now? Why did the Prime Minister of Belize choose to speak out about this now?
It's hard to say. Maybe he saw an opportunity to bring attention to the issue while all eyes were on the UK and the monarchy. Or maybe he just felt that it was time to speak out.
I see. And what about the crew? What do you think the reactions say about them?
Well, Charlie seemed to be really passionate about the issue. He was really diving deep into the history and the impacts of colonialism. Alice seemed to be a little more reserved, but I could tell that it was hitting close to home for her. And Bob, well, I think Bob just enjoys a good
And what
debate.
about Debbie?
Debbie seemed to be really affected by the whole thing. I think it was hard for her to hear about the atrocities that were committed in the past. But I also think that it was a learning experience for
Interesting.
her.
And what about you, Cal? What did you think of the whole thing?
I think it was an important conversation to have. It's easy to forget about the past and the injustices that were committed. But we can't move forward without acknowledging them. And I think that the crew is starting to see that now.
I think you might be right. It'll be interesting to see how they all react to the next topic.
Indeed. But for now, I think it's time to call it a
Agreed.
night.
Good night, Cal.
Good night, Roger.